Hello everyone, it's me MD here, and welcome one and all to my first official countdown. And in case if you haven't already read the title, it's going to be in regards to the newest season of one of the internet's most popular yet most catastrophic shows we all know today as, you guessed it, Crossover X. I kid. That's a good show. But yeah, today's list is about Death Battle, a series where everyone gets to sit back and watch as two or more fictional characters go at it in a fight to the death. The results of this? Promotions towards other franchises, die-hard defenders, die-hard haters, and even some Wikia members with IQs low enough to say that 14-year-old kids can destroy cities by beating up old furry, faunus. Most importantly, it's people sharing their ideas aloud for what Wiz and Boomstick should consider doing for their series one day. So yeah, I thought I'd join in on that party and make a list of suggestions myself. Though a few quick disclaimers before we get started. First of all, I won't be basing my list off of popularity, like Marvel vs. DC or Overwatch vs. Team Fortress 2. This is thoroughly based off of what I personally want to see happen on DB, and heck, probably even argue against some said popular matches in defense of the few entries on here. In which brings me to my second disclaimer that this list might contain some bearings that you'll most likely be very unfamiliar with and are mostly on the lesser known side of Death Battle ideas. But if you manage to hear me out on them, then maybe they'll make more sense, and possibly even convince you of where I come from. But hey, what can I say? That's why we do these kind of videos, to share our opinions with each other. But I digress. And the last one is that, unfortunately for me, I won't be expecting many of these to happen in Season 5. Mostly because of the fact that the entirety of my top 7 I see being animated in 3D, and there's no way Dorian would be able to get to all of them in one season. Now with all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I give you my top 10 most wanted death battles.
She loves me also.
Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn, inch by steps, inch by inch.
Well, they certainly were.
Ed, and Eddie versus the Three Stooges. Okay, I don't know about you, but just by thinking of these two series alone, I know I want to see this happen. I mean, I'm not sure if I need to explain as to why, so I'll give you 10 seconds to guess what Death Battle rarely ever gives us, starting now. Oh, I'm sorry, did I forget to say nanoseconds? Anyway, the answers are role-playing, oodles of Toon Force, TV shows, and most of all, trios. Now yes, Death Battle has done goofy, toony, and role-playing battles before, like Smokey vs. McGruff and Ratchet and Clank vs. Jak and Daxter. However, just not nearly as common as doing sword, gun, fist, and archery fights. And I shite you not, this 3v3 of doofuses brings all of those things to the table in one episode. It would be well organized too, since you've got your scrawny asshole leader, messy haired know-it-all nerd, and your big, bald, thick-headed comic relief. I mean, think about all the laughter and chaos this episode could bring. not just with it being a 3v3, also with the sheer amounts of Toon Force that would make Smokey vs. McGruff look like a world star hip-hop fight in comparison. Hell, that could mean our second Flash animated battle. Well, with all that being said and explained, you're probably wondering how this landed so low on the list. Ah, well, you see, despite the Eds and Stooges having more Toon Force than one would know what to do with, the Stooges stand little to no chance here. Don't get me wrong, these two are no pushovers, for they can take quite the amount of punishment without a scratch, like getting chainsawed in the head, for example. Although, for those of you who've watched Three Stooges like I have, you would probably be able to recall how lacking the show actually was in superhuman strength feats compared to durability feats, which are impressive, just not enough to save them from explosions or getting eaten by lions. Yes, they have died before and kept coming back for every episode. Somehow. Versus the Eds, who have a fair amount of strength and durability feats going for them, even if it's Ed going static alone, which when he does...
Somebody zop zop! Tag, you're it!
Superhuman strength and durability. Explosions. Sounds familiar, huh? Basically, the only advantage I see Moe, Larry, and Curly taking here is experience. Though, just not the experience necessary to face people like Ed, and Eddie, who beat them in literally every other category. But, no matter who wins, no one wants to see any of these childhood icons gruesomely die. And knowing Death Battle, that's something that they're probably going to do. But, if they decide to do something PG and toony, then hooray, thank Christ. So, despite this being a heavy stomp for the Eds, I mainly want to see this for the variety and creativity that can be put into this, and how we can get a chaotic fight with inevitable laughter to come from it. You know, for shits and giggles. Alright, now to see what matchups could possibly be better than this.
Sorry, but you seem to have the wrong person.
Piccolo vs. Meta Knight. Now here's an eyebrow raiser. And for the people whose eyebrows I have raised, let me explain this one, but not without talking about the more popular matchups for these two. For Piccolo, his most well-known opponent is the Martian Manhunter from DC Comics. Similarities: two green aliens with similar abilities that just happen to be from the same series as the men, the myths, the legends themselves, Goku and Superman. Not a bad comparison, though it doesn't really help that Manhunter has literally every ability and physical stat Piccolo has, but if those abilities and stats were on steroids, on even more steroids. Also, I don't know whether this is true or not, but I have heard that Screw Attack themselves said that they won't be doing any more DBZ versus DC matchups. So this can be crossed off the list off of that alone. In Meta Knight's corner, he's often compared to Zero from Mega Man X. While I will admit I was rather upset that Meta Knight wasn't his opponent when Zero vs. Metal Sonic was announced, I took a closer look at the pairing and realized that all Knight and Zero had in common was being anti-heroic badasses with swords. Not the worst comparison in the world, but far from the best. And besides, now that we got Zero a really cool death battle of his own already, let's give the Knight a shot on the series and give him an opponent he has plenty in common with, and who would give him a good run for his money, or vice versa. And that's where Piccolo came to mind. both of them being once vengeful, now father-like warrior mentors to some of the universe's greatest swordsmen. Okay, maybe not the most similar matchup in the world, but still consists of very likable fighters who haven't been on Death Battle yet. So yeah, as for abilities, they are totally different, where Piccolo is more for punches and kicks, along with a wide variety of ki blasts, whereas Meta Knight wields his nearly indestructible blade with blinding speeds and occasionally shooting energy blasts of his own. So what the two contrast in can make up for a good old-fashioned duel to the death of brains versus brawn. And it'd be quite the bout too, with both of them being at similar amounts of power, where some might say that they can destroy entire solar systems. I see no reason why or how either of these opponents would go down easily, with Meta Knight's reaction time to counter the projectiles and Piccolo's healing factor to counter the sword. So there you have it, Whiz and Boomstick. Two fan favorite anti-heroes, two styles of fighting, one battleground. Have at it!
We are going to the internet!
Super excited. Just one minor thing. What is the internet?
Watch after Jack Jack. I thought we were gonna go.
You heard your mother. Trampoline me. We meet again.
Wreck-It Ralph versus Mr. Incredible. Right, I don't know what kind of matchups you guys are into, but whatever you do, don't you dare ask me to explain myself here. Wow, what the heck. When you hear the name Disney Pixar, what comes to your mind first? I see why, but nope, strike one. Strike two. What? Okay. Have recent events not been appealing to you lately? Because for me, such titles would consist of Wreck-It Ralph and The Incredibles. And their main characters just happen to be big and red brawlers who know only one fighting style, punching everything. So basically, Pixar made two human incarnations of Knuckles. Yes, I know Mother. Not only that, but it also gives another hero versus bad guy scenario where Ralph could be seen wrecking a building and Mr. Incredible could be called in to stop Ralph from destroying said building. I'm gonna leave the rest to you. But the fact that we haven't had any Pixar related death battles so far, and the sequels for each of their respective series and movies are coming out this year, Season 5 seems like the perfect time to have their voices on this clash. By far one opportunity that wouldn't be worth passing.
Who hired you?
Enough talk. Time to see what you're made of, kid. Such a sweet, foolish girl.
Aurra Sing versus Widowmaker. What's that? Who's Aurra Sing? Well, for the people who haven't watched Star Wars The Clone Wars or the pod racing scene from Phantom Menace, Aurra is basically one of the main villains of the earlier seasons of Clone Wars, who was part of a terrorizing team of mercenaries and the one who took Boba Fett under her wing. Yes, you heard me. Aurra is the one responsible for raising the green gunslinger himself. You know, the guy Whiz and Boomstick had the nerve to put up against Samus Aran. In shorter terms, she's basically a bounty hunter with a sniper, rapid fire blaster pistols, pale skin, and a ponytail. Ponytail? Pale skin, rapid fire sidearms, sniper, a bounty hunter. Overwatch fans, does this sound familiar to you? I mean, Aura and Wheelmaker are so similar that it actually terrifies me that this matchup isn't more popular. Both of these women are professional sci-fi snipers who are capable of matching and surpassing foes that normally be considered to be out of their league. Heck, they both have impressive speed feats as well, being able to effortlessly dodge lasers, so hitting each other, even with their snipers, would be no easy task. Even if they did, they have absolutely broken durability, with Aura surviving the center of her ship crashing, and Whale supposedly taking hits from Winston, and even a full-on punch from the Doomfist gauntlet. Either way you look at it, this pairing is spot on, and the same could be said for how long and awesome a fight like this would be, long range and close range alike. Nightmare vs. Sauron. Yes, that's right. Nightmare coming back for a second shot at Deathbell against the Tyrant of Middle-earth himself. To explain this match, let's go back to see the first time we saw Nightmare in Deathbell when he went up against Gus from Berserk. What was Ben and Chad's reasoning for this match?
For untold decades, scientists have searched for a legitimate method of measuring a person's level of badassness, completely missing the obvious answer.
Just check out the size of his sword!
That's it? That they have giant swords? Yup. The only things that these two are shown to have remotely in common is wielding big swords and having to do with demons and whatnot. By that logic, we should have an entire battle royale between Nightmare, Guts, Cloud, Kratos, Dante, Crow, Ragnarok. Okay, basically as long as they have a big ass sword, it's a good matchup, capiche? So, who would be an actually fitting opponent for the Soul Calibur wielder? Sauron from Lord of the Rings, hands down. These armored demonic entities are drunk with power and self-tasked with the same goal, to cast their shadows across the land. And none of it would be possible without their sources of destruction, Soul Calibur and the One Ring. But whose shadow will overcast the other? Whose power will be the more overwhelming? A battle as epic as this should be capable of destroying at least an entire town, if not more, and would have been all worthy of my top 5 if it weren't with a returning character. But hey, if we can handle Thor, Wonder Woman, and Shadow coming back for seconds, and Batman coming back for a third, I don't see why we should be mad at something like Nightmare vs. Sauron. Speaking of top 5,